So, Clarence Thomas is really testing a very poor design at the Supreme Court, which is the justices themselves are not subject to any code of judicial ethics. That's a bad design, right? Nobody should be above the law and have no oversight, but that is the way things have worked out. Federal judges on lower courts are subject to this code, but not the Supreme Court justices themselves. There aren't any ways to police whether they recuse themselves from a case they might have an interest in. It's up to them. In this case, what we're seeing is evidence that Justice Thomas took lavish gifts, travel, paying for the private school of a child whose guardian he was, from this one friend, a super rich guy named Harlan Crow. And when you look at the Ethics in Government Act, which is a law that Congress passed in the 70s, it looks like Thomas violated that law because you're supposed to disclose these kinds of gifts and you're not supposed to take them in the first place.
Violated it irrespective of the fact there isn't a code of ethics for the justices.
Exactly. Yes, this is a law. But the court has never acknowledged that the Supreme Court is subject to this particular law. They, it seems, might want to argue, well, we're a separate branch. You can't tell us what to do. That's a kind of unresolved question. In order to resolve it...
That would ultimately have to be resolved by the Supreme Court, I take it.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
It's turtles all the way up.
And to get started even figuring this out, the Biden administration would have to prosecute or bring some kind of action against one of the justices, which has its whole own awkwardness to it. So there's really this problem here, and the predicament that Justice Thomas had gotten the court in, you might think would motivate Chief Justice Roberts, right? The court has his name on it, it's the Roberts Court. Might motivate him to try to get the justices together over the summer to come up with some way of binding themselves to some set of rules to address this problem. Because there's just really no question that the American public is losing faith in the Supreme Court. You look at its public approval ratings, the measures
lowest in history.
Yes, lowest in history. People do not have faith that this is a non-political institution, and that's what courts are supposed to be. At least in theory, they're supposed to be doing something called law that's separate from politics. Judges are supposed to, they're supposed to appear unimpeachable, right? So that they don't get impeached. Their integrity has to be really strong and pure, and I think that's what's at issue here.
Is it remotely possible to, appoint nonpartisan justices in this environment? We see people used to, justices used to get votes once they got through from pretty much everybody. That doesn't happen anymore.
You're right. There was this period, at least from the 40s to, say, the 80s or 90s, where lots of senators voted routinely for Supreme Court appointees, whether or not they were put forward by their own party. That era is kind of lost to us now. Whatever the reasons for it, we are at this extremely politicized moment for Supreme Court appointments, in which it's gotten hard to imagine a Senate that was in the opposition party to the president approving anybody.
More broadly, what does the United States lose? How much does it matter if the Supreme Court is seen to be just another partisan institution?
In the United States, if the Supreme Court is seriously out of step with the American public, it's fine for the American public to push back, right? The American public has a role to play in deciding what the Constitution means. In the end, this is a document that belongs to all of us, and so democratic participation is key. And it doesn't matter if the court is out of step to the left or to the right, the public should be able to assert itself, right? Presidents who choose Supreme Court nominees, the senators who decide to confirm them, we elect those people. And so people's views of the court, in the end, should shape the court. That's how our system is set up. There is a concern that internationally, the American Supreme Court has been a real symbol for a strong judiciary, and that is something other countries lack. We have a very strong, maybe too strong judiciary, but some other countries don't have strong enough judicial branches. And so when I talk to people who study constitutions in other countries, they worry that the diminishing reputation of the American Supreme Court could make people lose faith in courts elsewhere.